It's here. That's the phrase a herder used on a scratchy phone recording out of the Cordillera Vilcabamba. And when I watched the 11 seconds of trail camera footage that came with it, I saw a low, thick-shouldered cat turn its head and show two pale vertical marks on its upper jaw. I've walked that country. I want to tell you exactly what I think that is and exactly what I can't explain. Let me start where I always start, because it's the part that keeps me honest. A saber-toothed cat. The real thing. Smilodon populator, the one from the Tar and the Museum cast, died out at the close of the last ice age, somewhere around 10,000 years back. Nothing I show you tonight changes that. I'm not going to stand here and tell you a Pleistocene animal walked through the frost unchanged for 400 generations. It almost certainly didn't. So hold that. Whatever people are reporting out of these valleys, the exact cat from the fossil hall is the one answer I'm most confident is wrong. But here's the thing that won't leave me alone. Over the past 9 years, wildlife officers across 3 South American provinces have logged more than 60 reports describing a blunt-nosed cat far heavier than a puma. 60. And these aren't tourists with a blurry photo of a house cat on a fence. These are trapline reports, livestock kills, warden field notes, logged, filed, and in most cases never formally investigated. Because the funding to send a team 80 miles up a drainage on the strength of a herder's word simply does not exist. So what are they actually describing? That's the part I care about, because the details are consistent in a way that lazy hoaxes never are. The animal is heavy in the front, thick through the shoulders and neck, with a head that reads blunt rather than the clean triangular profile you get on a puma. A puma's shoulder height tops out around 30 inches. I've measured them off the ground with a tape, not guessed. The reports here put this thing closer to 40. That's waist high on a grown man. That's not a mismeasured cat. That's a different silhouette entirely. The herders in the Vilcabamba have a name for it that predates any camera footage. They call it the stone tooth. And the detail I keep circling back to isn't the size. It's the behavior. They say it kills livestock, but it does not scavenge. It won't come back to a carcass. Now sit with that, because it matters more than it sounds. A puma scavenges. A puma will absolutely return to a kill and feed off it for days. An animal that makes a fresh kill and walks away from the leftovers is telling you something about how it feeds and what it needs. That's not folklore decoration. That's a diet note, delivered by people who've lost animals to it for 3 generations. 2 of those reports still bother me, filed 11 days apart in 2021 from valleys 40 miles apart, and both describe the same shoulder height animal, waist high on a man, blunt in the face. Now, 40 miles apart in that terrain isn't 2 neighbors comparing stories over a fence. Those are separate watersheds, different herders, different languages of description, same animal. That's either one cat covering serious ground, which a large predator absolutely does, or it's 2 of them, which is the word nobody wants to say out loud. Population. So if this thing is real, why hasn't anybody produced a body? Why isn't it in a museum drawer? And this is where you have to actually understand the country. Because the honest answer is, the country is why. The Cordillera Vilcabamba runs into the Apurimac drainage across a stretch of the Peruvian Andes that is, by any measure, one of the least surveyed large mammal habitats left on Earth. I've stood on a ridge above the Apurimac and watched cloud fill a valley so completely you couldn't see the river you could hear roaring at the bottom of it. We're talking about country where the elevation swings from cloud forest to Paramo grassland in the space of a single climb, cut into gorges thousands of feet deep, with side canyons that a person can't enter without ropes. You could hide a herd of horses down there. You genuinely could. The idea that a solitary, ambush-hunting cat can't stay out of sight in that terrain isn't skepticism. It's a failure to picture the map. And the food's there. That's the piece people skip. This isn't empty rock. These valleys carry vicuña, guanaco, deer, and the herder's own livestock strung up the slopes. A big cat needs prey density and cover, and the Apurimac country has both in a way that would support a predator most people assume died out with the mammoths. So the habitat's there and the food's there. Which forces the real question. If everything a large cat needs is sitting in those valleys, why is the animal the one thing we can't confirm? Because confirming it is brutally hard, and I need you to understand the detection gap before you decide anything. To put a species on the books, you need a body. A skeleton or footage clean enough to survive every skeptic in the room. Reports don't do it. 60 reports don't do it. 1,000 wouldn't. And the terrain that hides the animal is the same terrain that eats your evidence. A trail camera up there gets fogged in for weeks. Batteries die in the cold. A carcass in that heat and humidity is gone, scavenged, rotted, scattered down a gorge in days. The very conditions that make the place a perfect hideout make it a graveyard for proof. Now let me give the skeptics their best swing because they've earned it, and on most of this they're right. The strongest version of the doubter's case goes like this. What you've got is a large puma, and pumas do vary a lot in size, seen in bad light, in fog, at a bad angle, by people whose culture already carries a story about a stone-toothed cat. The mind fills the blanks with the legend it already holds. Add a mangy or injured animal with a swollen jaw, and you've got your blunt face. Add fear and distance, and you've got your extra 10 inches of height. And you know what? For a solid share of those 60 reports, I think that's exactly what happened. That's not me being generous. That's me telling you the truth. Misidentification is real, it's common, and it accounts for more of this file than any believer wants to admit. So the doubters are right about the reports. Here's where they stop being right. The footage. The 11 seconds near the Apurimac drainage. I've watched it more times than I'll admit on camera, frame by frame. And there's one detail the misidentification argument cannot swallow. The cat pauses. It turns its head. And you see two pale vertical marks running down the upper jaw. Not the whisker pattern of a puma, not a trick of a highlight on wet fur. Two defined marks, parallel, descending past the line of the mouth exactly where a downward hanging tooth would sit against the jaw. A swollen, injured puma doesn't produce two symmetrical vertical marks. Fog doesn't produce them twice evenly on both sides. That single detail is the thing nobody's been able to explain away, and I've watched people try. I'm not going to oversell it. It's 11 seconds. It's a trail camera, not a film crew. The marks could be something I haven't thought of, and if someone shows me the mundane version, I'll put it right here in the next video. But I've killed the easy explanations myself, one by one, and that one's still standing. That's the honest state of it. Not enough to confirm a population, not enough to dismiss the footage. And I keep coming back to the diet detail because it fits in a way a hoaxer wouldn't know to fake. A cat with oversized canines, whatever this thing actually is, would be built to deliver a deep killing bite to soft tissue, then back off while the prey bleeds out. That kind of animal wouldn't chew bone, wouldn't scavenge a stiff carcass, would kill fresh and walk away from the rest, which is precisely what the herders have been describing for 3 generations, in a language that never heard the word smilodon. They didn't get that from a documentary. They got it from watching the animal work. So where does that leave us? Not where I started, and this is the part I want you to carry out of here. I opened by asking whether a saber-tooth survived the Ice Age, and the answer to that narrow question is no. But that was the wrong question, and I knew it when I asked it. The right question is bigger, and it's this. How many times has a large predator been declared gone, filed, closed, and then turned up in exactly the kind of deep, folded, unfunded country nobody had the money to search? The coelacanth, the mountain yala, whole species walking around while the official record said extinct. This wouldn't be the first. It would just be the loudest. I don't know what's in those valleys. I've told you every place my own evidence is thin, and I've told you the one place it isn't. What I know is that the reports keep coming from the same handful of basins. The terrain is more than big enough to hold the answer, and the standard of proof is high for a reason. Some years a team gets up the Apurimac. Some years the weather never lets them. That phone recording still sits on my drive. A herder's voice, thin over bad signal, saying it's here. Below him, cloud filling a gorge he can hear but can't see to the bottom of. And somewhere down in it, if the stone tooth is anything at all, an animal that kills clean and never comes back for the rest, turning its head once, showing the jaw and stepping out of frame before the 11 seconds run out. Character count, 9 out of 347.